on. Hey, congratulations on your new film, This Too Shall Pass.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you.
You know, I love these coming of age period pieces, but and that's only because I kind of grew up in that period, not to be aging myself already. But for you folks here, tell us what initially drew you to this project. I guess I'll make it easy by calling out names. Jaylin, why don't you start with?
So I've actually, with me not being born in that generation, I've actually only ever done period pieces. So it's just when I was reading this script in particular, there was this essence overall, and it's like there were certain songs in the script and certain film references that I just thought were outstanding, and it was amazing. And I knew that when I read it, I wanted to be a part of it, and that's what really like appealed me to the project.
How about for you, Aidan?
Yeah, I mean, this question's always funny to me because it's like, you get so many auditions and stuff, and it's like you want to just work on good things, and like it's so out of your hands, and you send in tapes and you don't know what happens after that. And then this was just one of the ones that worked out, and I loved the script, and it was just, and like I said, when I did the tape, I met with Rob afterwards on a Zoom where we just kind of talked for a good amount of time, and from that, I got a good sense of like this is going to be a good time. Rob's a great dude, and he translated as a director. He was wonderful to us.
That is wonderful. Ben?
Yeah, I immediately wanted to be a part of it when I read the script. I hope we did the 80s proud, you know. But yeah, I immediately wanted to be a part of the project because I immediately resonated with Tim as a character. I thought he had a really cool balance of sensitivity and being introverted, but also causing a lot of chaos and being very rebellious. And I don't always tend to be the most rebellious person in my day-to-day life. So that was kind of like a liberating thing to get to try, I would say. Like it's cool to feel like you can operate without a safety net a little bit. And like that was very exciting. And then he just has a great character arc that he goes on throughout the movie. So when I was reading the script, I could imagine myself in it really clearly. And that's happened before, and sometimes you don't get the part. But with that one, I could really see it. And I was like, that's always scary because then you get your hopes up. But at the same time, I was like, it's a good thing though, because I'm gonna do the callback. I can see this in my head. So yeah, anyways, I hoped that that was a good sign, and it turned out to be.
Very true. And last but not least, Nikki.
Yeah, for me, it kind of came in like in layers. I knew I wanted to get the part as soon as I got the email. I didn't even open it. Like any job, I'm like, oh, I love this. And then once I read the script, it was like obviously it just you knew it was kind of going to be special. And you always want to feel that way with any project you're part of, but even in the audition, there's some you just can't let go. Like you're going to watch it, you can let it go, but you're going to watch it even if you're not a part of it. And this was really one of them. And then after reading the script and that was immediate and then being on set, I'm like even more so. I'm like I want to do this forever. I want to see this forever and be part of it. So there's always little layers, but I think, it takes a special one to feel that way.
Precisely. Nikki, I'm going to throw this question to you. You know, there's no such thing as a small part. How did you feel playing a character that's the cause of all this mischief?
I loved it. I think she's so much fun to play and I loved getting to like have a glimpse of everyone and everything that they do, the dynamic and the be a part of the movie in any essence. And I think that it's an extra special feeling, like even if it's a smaller part, to have that little arc or little that kind of sets one of the bumps up for for cool experiences for everyone else. Yeah, in the show or in the movie.
Jaylin, your character is such a good friend in this, all the way to the end. Tell us about playing this character.
Well, James, he's a big film buff. One thing that James and I do share in common is that we love movies. And James, I think at the end of the day, he truly cares for Simon and the group, and he just wants to be there for him. And he's sort of like, thinking in situations, he's like, come on, do we really need to do this? But then eventually he lets loose and he learns to have fun. And I think it really does show another side to his character, which is great. He has complexity to him. But overall, he's cool. He's like this edgy kid. He's on the water polo team. He's just like living his life. And I love that for him.
Ben, The thing about that really makes your character special is that the theme of a LGBTQ is very different back in the late 80s and early 90s than it is today. How did you feel about playing adjusting to a character like that?
Yeah, I mean, you feel a responsibility, because I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like, I'm not gay, and so I certainly felt like, okay, you don't want to portray any sort of stereotypes. You want it to feel very respectful in the portrayal, and because there wasn't a ton of stereotypes in the part, I did feel comfortable stepping into it because like everyone has experienced first romance or felt like a misfit or something, and I felt like I could bring those things that I've experienced to that part and that it would translate. But I'm glad that there are characters like Tim in movies like this now, especially ones that look like it's in the 80s and stuff like that, because in those 80s films, these characters couldn't have existed, or they should have. Not couldn't have, they should have existed. And so I was glad that in a sort of remix of 80s movies that this one is, that a character like Tim could be in there. I thought it was important and I wanted to be a part of it.
Precisely. Aidan, tell us how much alike are you with your character because I find him to be very flirtatious in so many ways.
Yeah, nice. I'm not like him at all, actually, at all. I'd probably say I was saying earlier, like the deadpanness of his jokes sometimes. Like my humor's pretty deadpan, so I feel like you can see that from me sometimes. But everything else, I'm not really go with the flow as much as he is. Like he's the first one down out of everybody to kind of go on the trip, and every single thing that Max is like, let's go do this. John's like, yeah, let's go do it, without needing any type of hesitation or anything. So yeah, we're not alike at all.
Now, this question is open to any of you because I don't know when this was actually filmed, but how does it feel playing younger selves as teenagers in a film like this, and much do you relish playing these type of roles, or you can't wait to play more adult roles?
It's funny because at the time of filming, I had actually just turned 17. We filmed it the summer before I went into my senior year of high school. So it's sort of like I was kind of living both worlds. Like obviously I wasn't going through the same events personally, but it's like it really helped me really connect to my character because it's like I was a teenager then. I'm still a teenager now, and it's like I'm doing these crazy things that I would do in real life with these groups of kids. I would run off to Canada, but it was such a cool experience, and I felt even more immersed in it.
Anybody else?
I'm happy to keep playing teenagers as long as I can. Honestly, well, they just write such great roles for teenagers where there's so much self-discovery and adventure and stuff, and that's not always the case with roles of different ages. And so, I loved Superbad and Dazed and Confused growing up, and so many films that are about high school, and they were very important to me. And so, before I aged out of these parts, I really hoped I could participate in some movies that are about that age range. So. I was like very stoked to get this one under my belt because I'm like, okay, I have an offering in that genre now. There's like a few things now where like I've done a high school movie while I could. And so, yeah, no, I was stoked.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like mostly everything I've played so far has been like, under 18 years old. And this was a special project because literally a month into my relationship, my first like real relationship with my current girlfriend Bree, we went and shot this, and it was like a learning experience, in my life as well while shooting this. Like it was kind of funny bouncing from playing 16 years old to like going home and like living with somebody in Calgary in a different country. It's like, it was really interesting. But I recently just played someone that was, I don't know, probably like almost 30 or something. So that was weird. But this was yeah, but it's good. Yeah. And I'll also play young as long as I can. Because like Ben said, they write really good stuff for younger roles, I feel like, as well. So it's good to have.
How do you feel, Nikki?
Yeah, I feel like I would do it forever. I mean the last time the main time I got to play younger, I had like babies, I had kids and so I never really got to work with people around my age and I think also like so much of acting is about play if you love it and if you let yourself and sometimes you don't want to grow up. I don't think anyone really wants to grow up. So having those experiences you may have missed and it comes out in little scenes here and there that you get to do and it's just it's extra special. Yeah, and there's so much growth you have as a teen.
That is true. And this film is extra special to me is because 1989, 1990, I was about 16, 17, where where I'm already aging myself to all of you folks here. But you got to see a lot of this stuff of shag carpeting, CDs, record players, even phone booths. What do you think of the time period that when I actually grew up, or you're kind of glad that going, gosh, I love this period now.
Mm. Honestly, sometimes I get a little jealous because you guys had the good music, the best style. I mean, honestly, like I think these right here that I have that James wore in the movie, I mean, I would rock these every day. I try not to because I think they're very valuable, but just like from just the clothes, from the way people in the 80s spoke, it's all just truly really cool. And I know times have changed now, but it's kind of memorable looking back and seeing how cool you guys had it, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like the 80s are kind of like a myth for our generation because so much of the content we've absorbed is 80s inspired, like from Stranger Things to like even like The Weeknd's recent albums. Like so
Yeah.
much of mainstream pop culture is like synths and 80s and like 80s horror and like so much of what we consume is uh inspired by the 80s. And so I feel like we've kind of grown up around that influence, even though we weren't alive then. So I think there's always a little bit of jealousy. I'm kind of jealous that you guys didn't have to grow up with cell phones and stuff, just for mental health reasons, honestly.
Oh yeah.
And the freedom, like not having to the self-comparison stuff of social media and all that. Growing
Mhm.
up without that would be pretty incredible. And then just, yeah, the culture, the music, and the like freedom to ride on bikes. I don't know if that's just on TV, but it seems like that was pretty fun.
I agree. Good answers. I have nothing else good to add.
You want to add anything, Nikki?
Sure, I have something that I would not like to bring back. So I'm all with Ben. I could live without a cell phone. Easy, you good. But I had to use the fake phone. Oh, I don't even know what it's called. I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Um, it's confusing. It's confusing and I would get jumbled and I would call the wrong number like a million times. Um, yeah, I wouldn't really. They look cool. They're great. They're beautiful. But yeah, I wouldn't want to bring that. But other than that, like style and everything, I was like, oh, I'd wear this today, or like that's really nice. Even if other people were wearing it, I was like, oh, that's something like I would like. And it's funny how it's like the movie itself is timeless, whether you can watch it if you were like grew up in the 80s or if you weren't even born then. And I think some of the style that's the 80s itself, like Ben was saying, it's just so timeless. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do think my character would have a much easier time today, though, in many respects. And so there's also that element too. It's like, I think
Mhm.
they cover up in like, there's no, actually no, there is some like bullying and straight stuff like Stranger Things and stuff where people are scared to come out. So, that's in there too, but definitely like I think some of the rougher edges are sometimes sanded off in some of the stuff we consume about it. So there's also that which I wouldn't want to return to. But the vibes
Uh,
and art 10 out of 10 vibes and art. Absolutely.
I can kind of say the same thing too for my character as well.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't.
right. James might have a little more fun today in modern world, but like overall, like Ben said, overall, it's just amazing art and it's timeless.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't miss my answering machine and having a whiteboard at my front door for you folks to stop by my house to leave messages. That's that's how we lived back then. So
Wow. Wow.
Oh.
one last thing before I have to go is how many of you have to look up John Cusack's Say Anything movie just to understand that part into this film? Really, Jaylin?
I
But
didn't
if
watch
it
it,
makes you feel
unfortunately.
better, like I think Rob gave me a whole list of movies that were from that time and I watched every single one because I wanted to be as educated as I can. So I feel like once I watched all those movies, I felt like I could finally pass the vibe check, you know?
And everybody else have seen it before?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
No.
iconic. It is wonderful, but sometimes you see it secondhand or third hand now. Like you see it kind of it's an inspiration for a lot of things, but the movie itself is great. Yeah.
I love
It is.
Cusack. It's such a good movie. There's that part where he's like walking her home and he like gets her to step over that bit of broken glass and stuff. And I always thought that was like one of the more like romantic, gentlemanly things I had seen in a movie. I just love Cusack in that film. It's such a charming movie.
Good one.
Most excellent. Well, everyone, thank you very much for speaking to us about This Too Shall Pass. It is such a great coming of age story and very nostalgic for a lot of us. And with all your characters are complex with meaning. So thank you very much for talking to us about it.
Thank you so
Thanks so much.
much, Gig.
Thank you for having
Yeah, thanks.
us.
Hey.